Hey there guys, welcome back. Today's going to be part 4 of the questions and answers segment where you ask me questions and I give you answers. I can't necessarily guarantee that they're the right answers, but you know what, I'll do my best. So first off, I want to apologize that it's been so long since the last questions and answers to this one, but I'm usually just so adamant about answering them on the keyboard as I receive them in the comments section. So sometimes I just like to get them out of the way, but anyway, I'd like to make it a more regular thing because I do know a lot of people want to hear me answer it personally, you know, versus just seeing some words typed out on a keyboard. So without further ado, let's start. The first question is from BrewDaddy1911, and he asks, have you considered any other livestock other than chickens? And the quick answer is absolutely yes. I've considered goats and sheep and rabbits and chickens, a whole host of other livestock. If I had the land mass or the quantity of acreage, I would even consider cattle or anything larger like that. But right now I would consider those, but ultimately it has to go through the wife. And right now she's not too fond of anything other than chickens. She said she would consider fish if I built a pond or something like that. The next question is from CG Louisiana and several other people. But he asks, have you ever planned on doing any videos of your hunting or fishing trips or anything like that? And the quick answer is yes. I have considered it. It wouldn't be a normal hunting video. It would be more like, you know, what my camp is like, you know, setting up the tent, doing stuff around the campfire. I'm not really into hunting shows myself that show like kill shots and anything like that. And I'm not really interested in showing all of that. You know, I do realize that some people are vegetarians or, you know, they just have problems with that, and you know, I'm not really interested in showing any gruesome kind of stuff. But I think like a scouting trip or something like that, you know, and maybe some video of some, you know, beautiful animals walking up a hillside would be great too. And then, you know, maybe I'll show a photo if I am fortunate enough to harvest a big game animal like that, like a deer or an elk or something like that. So next question is from Titan Medic. He asks, how off-grid is my homestead regarding water and power, and is it worth it financially to provide both water and power? Well, I am off-grid almost in regards to water, but not power. We're hooked up to the grid, and regarding financial aspects, it's really going to depend on your situation. You know, if you're in an area, like say you're super, super remote, and the power company is going to charge you, you know, 30 or 40 grand to trench power all the way to your property, well, in that case, it's probably very fiscally responsible to set up a solar system or anything like that. As far as water, if you're in a situation like mine, you know, one of the things that people ask me, you know, I have a pretty large water harvesting system for rainwater, and they say, oh, well, that's got to be pretty expensive. And yes, it was. But it was the cheaper option versus drilling a well. But, you know, some people, if you're in an area of the country or the world where the water table is very low, you know, it might not be very expensive to have a well. So I would always encourage people to collect rainwater, but it's ultimately going to depend on your situation. But as a liberty aspect, my goal would be to eventually have solar on my property and not be connected to any grid, and not be subject to any rate increases or anything like that. So it's definitely a goal of mine. And water, yes. Power, right now we're on grid, but like I said, it's always going to depend based on everybody's situation. So the next question is from Ted Alexander, and Ted Alexander actually has a great YouTube channel on woodworking. If you guys are interested in checking out his channel, definitely go check it out. He asks, how has El Nino affected your area, more or less rain and temperature variances? Well, Ted, I would say from, like, say the fall to the end of January, I would say definitely a wetter winter and fall than we normally receive, and the temperature's a little bit cooler. The last 6 to 8 weeks have definitely been drier and hotter, so I don't know if it's just equaling out, but it definitely has affected us. Not necessarily in the best ways, but I can tell you my rain tanks are still almost completely full. So far so good. Next one is from Mackie from Ireland. So anyway, he asks, being that you're in the Western US and you're close to Route 66, do you ever visit any ghost towns or Route 66 kind of things? He's really interested in 40s and 50s kind of, I guess, machinery and old automobiles of the Western US. Or Route 66 era. Not so much Route 66, I've been along it, and definitely some cool stuff along there. Like Jerome, Arizona has a lot of cool things as far as old cars. But mostly for myself, in southern Arizona, my father and I used to go and visit ghost towns and old mine shafts. I know maybe not the safest thing, but we would do that on the weekends. And there's some really cool place during the old mining booms where towns would shoot up, you know, for gold or silver or whatever they were mining for, and you'd have all these structures, you know, 300, 400, 500 or 1,000 or more people, and then once the gold or silver was kind of exhausted, everybody left. So, you know, there's some cool old structures and different things like that. And some of the mine shafts that you can go into are pretty amazing. Maybe not the safest thing, but I will say we did see half a stick of dynamite in one of the mine shafts that we went in, and it was a mine shaft that took about 3 hours to go through all the rooms in. It was pretty amazing. The last time I tried to visit it, it was all imploded. The Forest Service had covered it. The next one is Canadian Sasquatch Brewery. He is asking, how are the bees? Well, I'll be honest, I hadn't checked on them in about 4 or 5 weeks. Being that these were all free bees to me, I'm kind of hands off. But I did walk out there tonight and looked up through all the little vent screen that I have, and they're all still there. So knock on wood, I'll still have bees come spring. And one of my future projects this spring, maybe in the next month or so, is I want to try to do some more swarm traps and see if I can extend my beehives. The next question is from DW Marshall. He says, or he or she, my question, which of the following tools would you recommend I purchase first and why? Table saw, miter saw, or a small nail gun? Well, a lot of people who are into woodworking would probably say a table saw, because a table saw can pretty much achieve anything you need. But as far as a beginning tool, I would probably recommend like a circular saw and a miter saw. Check out my video for best beginner power tools, because basically in my personal experience, I was able to achieve or complete a lot more projects with a simple circular saw and a miter saw for a lot less money than I would have spent buying a decent table saw. Table saws are great, and they can do a lot of things better than both a circular saw and miter saw. But if you don't have a big enough table saw or appropriate sled to do certain cuts with, the miter saw and circular saw will probably be your best option. So anyway, as far as a nail gun, I can't recommend them enough. I use them a ton. I have a finish nailer from Porter Cable. I got it at Home Depot or Lowe's. I don't remember where it was. It was a great kit, and I've used the heck out of it. So nail gun, definitely a great tool if you're going to be making projects. Other than that, I would do a cordless drill, a circular saw, and a miter saw as, say, my first 3 power tools. Next one is from my sister, Blackberry Hideout. Hey, Jessica. She asks, what are your top 3 routine tasks that you like most on your homestead? AKA, what's your favorite part of the day? Well, I don't really have a whole bunch of tasks. You know, it's not like a really working homestead where I got cattle and sheep and ducks and goats and things like that. But I'll tell you, the first thing that I do almost every day is take a walk around a little trail around my property with my wife and daughter with a cup of coffee in hand, and we just kind of walk around the trail and talk about the day, and, you know, just, I don't know, look at nature, wildlife, and just enjoy the sunrise. That is absolutely my favorite part of the day. It's not really a task, but it's something I do love doing. The next thing, which is more of a task, is going to check on the chickens and anything that I have growing wise, like the garden or fruit trees or anything like that, or even projects that are currently in the works. I'll just kind of check on them in the morning. I usually go down to the chickens, check for eggs, and then I will let the chickens out for the day, maybe give them some scratch or some food scraps. And so that's the second task. Third task, it's not really a task, but obviously I make these YouTube videos. So one of the things I do like to do is sometimes walk around my trail with a drink, or sit in here in the garage or on the porch and brainstorm about things I'd like to do, goals I'd like to accomplish. Maybe like Craigslist money opportunities. You know, from time to time I sell things on Craigslist, write articles for Backwoods Home. Basically that third task is just going to be brainstorming and you know, just I guess dreaming. The next one is from Evan Alsop. He says, how are your chickens doing? Well, they're doing good, or they're doing well. I did have a bunch of buff Orpingtons. Some of them did go to a stock pot and bone broth, but I still have some of those. And then I've also added 2 golden sex links, 2 black Australorps, 2 Wyandottes, and 2 new buff Orpingtons. I'm a huge fan of the buff Orpingtons. If you can't tell by my videos. And then if you look at part 3 of the greenhouse video, you'll see just a quick look at those. But I actually do plan on buying 2 to 4 more chickens. But to answer your question in short, they're doing awesome. And you know, I love having chickens. I love having them walk around. They're funny little creatures and they're enjoyable to watch, and they turn all of our food scraps into eggs and eventually compost when I compost them in my compost barrels. Next question is from RX7 Nut. How about greywater harvesting? Or how about a greywater harvesting video? Well, I do plan on doing a video on that. Greywater harvesting is a huge thing for us. And it's a video I've kind of been wanting to do, but I've just been waiting for the spring winds to die down because it's an outside video. And I don't yet have a super fancy audio setup to be able to record in the wind like that. And then the last one is from RMH Texas, and tons of others. I probably get this question maybe 4 or 5 times a week on many of my videos, and they say, what are you listening to in your headphones? Well, I'm listening to a variety of things, but most often I am listening to a podcast. If you're not familiar with podcasts, they're kind of like talk radio, but usually on a focused subject, and they're not talk radio. I used to listen to talk radio years and years ago, and I got burnt out on it. But I do like the talking. It stimulates my mind. I like to learn something. So the podcasts I listen to are usually on like gardening, homesteading, woodworking. I even listen to a couple that are on like cooking, different things like that. So usually it's podcasts, probably about 75% of the time. If I'm not listening to a podcast, I will just put on the YouTube Music app, and I listen from everything from like pop music to rock music to country to even some classical, like, well, more like Yanni or like just instrumental type of music. So anyway, I mean, everything from Taylor Swift to Alabama to Metallica. So I'm not really, I don't discriminate when it comes to music. And that's pretty much it. So I hope that answers your questions. If you guys do have any questions, please post them down below in the comments, and I will try to answer them, not 6 months down the road, but hopefully in like maybe a month down the road. And then real quick, I'll show you what this is. This is a chicken coop. This is a video I'm currently working on, and it is a chicken coop for my mother-in-law and my father-in-law, and they're looking to upgrade their coop. And basically I'm making almost the exact same style of coop, sorry, I keep hitting this, that I have in my own yard that you've probably seen a tour of. So if you're interested in that coop, definitely watch the video that's coming up, because it will be very similar as far as construction wise. And you know, anyway, so thanks for watching, guys, and be sure to ask any questions down below, and we will see you next time.